So revenue cycle management updates, as we make this part of our rotation every other week, it's actually, it becomes even more important when we do these updates. Now, going back to why we are doing the updates from the RCM side as well as we do the clinical, our audience is mainly our patients, but then our employees, our providers, our network, and the public. So I was in our Turkey office in the last 2 weeks, had several meetings, and it was actually pretty rewarding to hear that some of our employees are using our RCM videos as part of their training. And in some cases, they do go back and then they rewatch what we discussed. So that's actually, that gives us a little bit more responsibility now. So meaning that now we have to do maybe a little bit slower, a little bit, I was not doing PowerPoints much since they may be watching them for training purpose. So we may slow down a little bit. So today we are going to discuss timely charge entry and impact on RCM. And you are someone who works very closely with me and with our clients. And with this topic, you actually did help our United Medical Clinic operations. And we wanted to kind of have you give this update so that way we can help our providers as well as our employees. So I'm gonna start presenting from the PowerPoint so you can actually, I can give you access to the PowerPoint so that it can be on your page. Let me try that, okay? Right. So I think you need to be at least a co-host. Let's see which you are a co-host now. So this doesn't actually, why am I not able to give you that access? Let's see.
It's not that big of a deal for me. I mean, you can do it as well. That's totally fine with me.
All right, let me try one other thing. At my home computer, it was working. All right, so I guess I will, right now, we are going to share the screen. Okay, you are able to see it, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
All right, should I go ahead?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me here this week. I will be talking about the timely charge entry and its impact on the revenue cycle management. My name is Alp Sente. I've been in the United Medical family for the past almost 2 years. I'm a client manager. So medical billing may seem like a simple process to an outsider that like we submit the claims, but it gets paid. But unfortunately, it's really not that simple. There are many steps that are involved within the revenue cycle management process. And posting the charges in a timely manner is an extremely important step for providers, as it can lead to like unexpected bills or even delayed care for some of the patients. And it is also critical for the reputation, relationships, and even compliance for the providers. So that's why we put a really good focus within the last few months on timely charge entry, especially for Kemal's practice, United Medical Clinic. And that also leads to efficient, stable, and timely payments. And it's really good for the revenue cycle of the practice. So days in AR is one of the many reasons why timely charge entry is important. So for those of you that don't know, days in AR is how long it takes for your claim to go through the average accounts receivable process. And if you look at the formula on the screen, your total charges posted within the last 120 days. This is the amount of days that we use to calculate our formula, and divided by the 120, which is the days, which gives you the average daily charges for your practice. And then once you have that number, you calculate your total accounts receivable within that same date frame, so 120 days. And then in this case, we put down our average daily charges as around $3,000. These are just examples, made up numbers. And then our total accounts receivable was $115,000. And then that divided by the average daily charges is 38.33, which is our days in AR. It's not bad. It is under the benchmark for MGMA because their standard is 40 days or below to be better. It's not bad, but there's definitely some room for improvement there with that 38.33 days number. Can go on to the next slide. Again, it's how long it takes for your claims to go through the average accounts receivable process. I know some people are better with seeing the numbers and formulas, so I explained it in 2 different slides. Again, you can use this for 30, 60, 90, or 120 days, whatever you're calculating. But as United Medical, we use the 120 days benchmark for this. We can go to the next slide. So also, as I mentioned in the beginning, RCM process is really not that simple, and quite often we face different problems related to the claims, which requires us to resubmit them for several different reasons. That is why it's absolutely crucial to enter the charges in a timely manner from the provider's side. This slide, I'm showing you the timely filing limits for some of the insurance companies. Of course, each insurance company from different states, they have their own timely filing limits, and it's really hard to follow these usually. But we can see here that, for example, Medicare and Highmark, their timely filing deadline is 365 days from the date of service for you to make a correction on your claim or submit the claim. But we can also see that for United Healthcare and Medicaid, it's only 90 days. So if these charges are not entered in a timely manner, it's hard to keep in track with these, because if you enter your charges like 30, 45 days later, then you only have 60 or 45 days left to make those corrections and get payment for your charges.
So the only thing is, I think Highmark, while we're actually continuing, if best or one of them can double check. I thought it was 6 months for the initial one, but I may be wrong. If they
I got it from Google. That's what I found, but I can double check on that as well.
Finishing the training last week, so in Turkey, so I have some of these fresh. So I think it's 6 months, but Beste can text me once she double check that.
Okay, yeah, you may be right on that.
So when this timely filing, when something is not filed, main thing is what's happening, like other than affecting our numbers, it's actually we don't get paid, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, they don't pay us. They say you've expired the timely filing limit, and that's it. We don't get payment for it, and we have no way of taking it back if we don't do these things in a timely manner.
All right. So this is your next one.
Yep. So number 3 is the financial complications of the timely charge entry. Again, it's decreased revenues, as I just talked about, within the timely filing limits. As Kemal said, if we don't do these in a timely manner, we don't get paid. So our revenues decrease. And then this also delays the revenues. This is important for the practice's revenue cycle management. If you don't have enough cash flow because you're not entering your charges, it might put the practice in a bad situation. And we also have charges to payment ratios, which I'm going to be talking about in the, I think it's the slide after or the one after that. So another thing that we wanted to touch on today was from the UMACO standpoint and the risk score implications. So these late charge entries, they also impact the risk scores for the United Medical ACO clients. If, let's say for this year, if you don't post your charges until a certain date, certain time of the year, they won't affect the risk scores for this year. And therefore, you're not going to see those changes with risk scores in the at the end of the year, and therefore your shared savings might decrease based on this, and it affects the value-based contracts. I don't know if you want to touch more on this, Kemal.
So yeah, we'll come back to this once we have your full PowerPoint.
Yeah. So next we have the charges and payments. As I said, this is for one of our clients as an example, whom I worked on a project similar to the timely charge entries as well. So from what I learned from Kemal, for an average PCP practice, this charges to payment ratio should be at around 50%. And for this client, you can see that.
So that's our internal setup, so that way we can use that as a benchmark, right?
Yes, correct. For an average PCP practice, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And we would want to see that at 50%. And if you see here for January and February, this number is at 40% and then at 32%. This is due to some of the late charge entries, providers missing their charges. So then when we started doing these projects, you can see the charges to payment ratio is inflated the months after because you're getting more payments and all that stuff. So
like when we enter like 748,000 one month, next month we go up almost 33%, and then we go down again and we go up again. And what happens with this inconsistency, the formulas that we are utilizing, the days in AR and others, they don't actually provide any help. The tools that's supposed to be helping us, when we don't do our charges in a timely manner, we are also making our practice handicapped because we cannot utilize the standard tools in a good way. So,
yeah, absolutely. And of course, the cash flow for the practice as well. If these are delayed 1 month, and then the next month you're not going to be getting paid as much, and then the month after you're going to be getting paid a lot more. So all these things with late charge entries, they affect them. And then next we have the report card again for the same client. You can see in the days in IR 120 column that it slightly goes up above 40, which we don't want that for our clients. And then it starts decreasing after that because the charges are entered on a timely manner. So they stay less days in the accounts receivable process and they get paid faster.
So like this report actually is a little bit clear, more clear than the other one. So because when I have the charge at 748, when we have the formula is average of 6 months charges, right? So this 748 is on the lower side. So when my days in AR is at 31 days, then when I catch up with the charges, which again shouldn't happen, when my charges go up to 1.1 million, all of a sudden it looks like my days in AR is 43 days, which actually is not the case. It is 43 because we didn't enter the charges correctly. Normally, it would be alerting situation when you go from 31 to 43. So that's why I'm saying that this is a tool. That tool needs to be utilized. So in order for tool to be utilized, you need to be consistent. You need to go with the system. So is this is there something happened between the 31 to 43 days? Something happened in my practice, or is it just because I didn't enter the charges? So because next month we go down to 26 because we have less charges, because this less charges reduces the total charges for that 6 months period, right? So then all of a sudden something that we use, again, the main key learning for us and for the clients as well is tools are not being utilized, cannot be like we make ourselves handicapped with these inconsistencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, while you were explaining that, I just got the email from Besta explaining the timely filing limits. So for Highmark, the timely filing limit is actually 12 months, but the corrected claim limit is 180 days. So that's probably what you remembered. But again, yeah, for UHC, it's only 9 days we have for the timely filing limit, which if the charges are not entered within the next like 90 days, we can't get a payment for it. And then next, this is both for the providers, I guess, and the accounts receivable, the billing department, where as Kemal always says, it's about checks and balances. So you can check these timely charge entries either through PowerChart or SPM. So for the SPM part, when you enter SPM, you just go on the top left corner and you click on the patient monitor, and then you select your range for the date of service, whatever you're auditing. I usually try to do like 2 weeks prior. And then I select the offices and the providers that you want to audit for the late charge entries. And then finally, when you hit retrieve, you can go to the next slide. This is the result that we get. So this was for the week of 8/22, so 2 weeks ago. We still have 4 charges outstanding. I don't know what's going on with that, but we might need to check on these. But still, 4 is not that big because when we first started doing these projects, there was like hundreds of them still missing. And then next, we can also see the same thing on PowerChart. This is important for the providers mostly, because this is where they actually enter their charges and their notes, the medical records and everything. So if you go to open items in the top right corner in PowerChart, and then you select the settings in the drop-down menu and check mark charge to display those. If we can go
So
to the
this is
next
directly from our PowerChart, our EMR system. So just to kind of make it a little bit clear, so this is on SPM. So our office administrative staff would be following the charges through this, but then charge entry comes from PowerChart because our providers are entering them. So that this is how providers are able to keep track of those, not only the charges, but their notes, their task and outside records altogether.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's all about checks and balances, as you always say. And then this is the result that you get from PowerChart for the providers. And if you view the outstanding actions column that's highlighted in red, you can see that the charts are not posted or what's going on with it. So this is how you can follow through PowerChart. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing here. So what you shared with us actually is the essential for any practices in the United States. So I do want to give you just some recent, something happened just recently. So I'm in the new place for the last 3 years. I call new place, but it's no longer new. So waste management is our trash people. So they have our credit cards every Monday. So for those from our Turkey office, if they don't follow what I'm saying, we do take our trash out, like personally, like someone from my household would take it out. And then we would put it on the street in a dumpster, and then the trash waste management is the one that I use. They would come and take them, pick them up weekly. Well, this week they didn't. So, well, actually, I'm gonna have Sean back in. So, because he's here, so I thought he was already on. So the they didn't actually take my trash this week. So I thought they're, maybe it was a holiday or something because Labor Day and the Memorial Weekend. So they don't take those times. So we waited for next day, and then they didn't pick up. When we called, they said the credit card on file expired 12 days ago, and they stopped
the service,
providing the service. Now, what we don't really understand in our healthcare business, and in some cases our patients, some cases our employees, so we don't get actually paid at the time of service. So we may never get paid, or if we get paid, insurance may come back and take the money back. All these things are our day-to-day life. In fact, I won't name the insurance company, but one of the big ones, the first letter is A. is telling us the other day in the meeting, oh, these problems are happening because we are too big. And my response was, well, you are not a utility company that you should be like, you are not like US Postal Office, you are not Amtrak or whatever the government owns, you are a private company. So what happens? They use that as an excuse. But then when you look at how big this company is, they are bigger than most of the countries. They would be in the top 50 if they were a country. So, but they don't pay. Or they are trying to take something that they paid 2 years ago, and then they don't care what may happen with the patients, like if they make corrections so late and how that's going to impact our patients with the patient balances and other stuff. They just don't care. So this is the only industry that you don't actually not getting paid is almost okay. Now, on top of that, we are introducing this late charge entry, which makes it even more difficult because when you don't actually submit the claim, the 2 years or 3 years doesn't apply to us. So as you can see, like in some cases 3 months, some cases 6 months, and some cases 12 months. But when they need to take the money for corrections, it can be up to 3 years. So we live in this double standard. So that's why I thought this was important for our providers, our employees, our network to know what we do from the charge entry standpoint, how we keep track of it. And it's not just not entering the charge, but it's impacting the entire practice management because you cannot use the practice tools in a manner that, in an efficient manner. So that's, from that point, this was a really good update. Thank you. And you did excellent. And for